Welcome back to our episode of 1320 Time Stream, where we're going to be covering the Oracle of the Yellow Electric Human. So let's just jump into a quick gander at all the signs here. And remember, pause it. So I'm going to go through them a little quick. So we have the Electric Hand here, Electric Warrior, Electric Wind, and Spectral Moon. Okay, well, starting with our hand energy. The first thing that comes up around that for me, because we have that electric tone of service, that activating, it's like we're going to accomplish or bring some kind of energy that's going to be in service to something else. And, for me, it largely speaks of maybe some really hands-on work, like building something. Or this could be defined as like helping someone take in the groceries, helping someone wash the dishes. It's really an endless series of definitions that can really be brought forth here, because anything that you can essentially use your hands for can really fall under the more physical description of how the electric tone of service's energy is really happening, really coming into the field. So we also have the energy of healing and knowledge, healing and wisdom, which I find it's interesting because that knowledge and that wisdom energy of the human kind of go hand in hand. While knowledge, can be learned, wisdom can only be earned kind of energy. And so I find they do go hand in hand, pun intended. And that the human and the hand, are also exactly, they're part of the same being when you really think of it. It's like a hand with the 5 fingers and thumb, that only really belongs to humans. And so we also have the human. And so it's like the hand is intrinsically related to the human. And on the challenging power, we also have breath, which is representing communication. And so while many beings have breath, it's also still an actual function of the human. So I find that kind of cool today, that there's these two left and right energies that kind of really represent some of the human's qualities that all of us have and can participate in. So that's a bit of that knowledge and wisdom energy showing up, I feel. So, service, bond. Yeah, bond with our healing. As we connect and bring energy into that circuit, that activation, that electric tone, there's an amount of healing that comes about. Just even, doing a favor for someone, accomplishing something, there's healing in that. There's goals met. There's the finalization of things. Not to propagate goal-oriented seekings, but it's almost like, when we finalize a karma, which is kind of like completing a cycle. The way I explained karma in another episode was energy or a cycle set in motion. And it hangs on to you, the gravity of that hangs on to you until you see that cycle through. And so while it's not seen through, it can be karma. And that's just the weight or gravity of a cycle of energy that still needs your attention. And so completeness that's gained from finalizing that, the completeness that's gained from, this is kind of what it means to work with, say, ancestral karma, right? It's not like, they did a bunch of bad things and so they're going to get punished. Karma, in my eyes, has nothing to do with, you get paid back for what you do. I think that's just kind of like a vengeance consciousness that people like to indulge in. For me, it really has to do with those cycles that were set in motion. And so it really comes down to things that were unfinished. And so that the ancestral karma, healing ancestral karma, is finishing those things that happened in our ancestral lineages, taking responsibility for those things. And you can really see them in the world, because our ancestors are consistently still living through us in our culture through our genetic inheritance. And so from that respect, you can see how our culture has developed. There are certain stigmas, there are certain things, they're everywhere. And that's how you can kind of tell what is like an ancestral wound. Because there's things that could have happened, or cycles that could have finished, or things that could have gone another way that didn't. And so that memory trigger, that vibrational trigger, continues rehashing itself through the genetic lineages, through the lifeline. And so those same issues, those trauma patterns, those identifications, those life patterns, or those social mysteries or hang-ups, that's what's there, right? So that's one way we can really embody this healing energy, is by going into that ancestral lineage and coming forth with the finalizations of things that have been set in motion. Being the end of that cycle, take responsibility. In some way, being the hero of that lineage, at least where that ancestral karma is concerned. And how can you tell? Well, that's a very unique thing, and the human energy being that of also the sacred medicines. Malinali, the twisted herb, is the human's name in, I believe, the Nahuatl tongue. And we have sacred inebriation. And so, when we take a look at the medicine journeys or the deeper shamanic work we can participate in, or just meditation and ways of going deep in ourselves, if we're really good at going very deep in ourselves with the meditation, then we may not need to participate with the medicine elders. Now, I recommend that everyone who is on this path of knowledge definitely participate with those elders, because there is much wisdom to be gained there about yourself, about what you're part of, about what you're becoming. And so this kind of information, I find, can be found there, especially when you want to just kind of throw out a question like, hey, what is this? And kind of just stay there, focus on that. And I feel it most likely will come to yourself through a series of visions or images that might be, kind of related to it. But I feel you might also receive stuff that's more like an exemplification of your own patterns. And things in your own matrix will show up for you to heal. And that's really how the ancestral healing is going to take place. Is that the patterns in you that may be out of balance, or the things in your life that may be stagnant or hard off, then become present and are really shown to you. And it's like, okay, this is the root of that, this is the root of that. And it's like, okay, cool, well, and then this is where things like medicine wheels or other things come into play in order to help organize your energy into how to see them. A medicine wheel can also be seen as a way of creating and organizing a value system, right? And so then you can tag back into that value system. It can be in one with nature, representing animal totems and whatnot, in order to inspire not just your connection with the planet, but also your connection with your own personal power. And so these are other systems, natural systems, which utilize sacred direction energy and whatnot. And so there's a sacred mathematic in them as well, similar to what we're doing here. So yeah, that's what wants to come through for the electric hand, being in service to healing, being in service to accomplishment, activating accomplishment, and creating a bond with that knowledge. And so next up, we have the electric warrior. Okay, electric warrior. That's like creating a bond or being in service to the intelligence, or more like the intelligence, the warrior energy is the warrior of service. This, which is interesting, if we were to really take that energy of that ancestral healing and bring that up here into the guide to keep defining, I think a couple of good ones could come out. Now, say you're in any one of those journeys, or say you're doing an intentional medicine wheel ceremony or meditation. It really doesn't matter how you set the stage. It's just that you're choosing to create a container for it. You're like, okay, I'm creating a containment field where this set of intentions is going to be within that containment field. And so in that respect, one is kind of embodying the warrior energy if one is journeying in such a way as though they are to find answers. And so these are those questions that will lead to the intelligence. That's like the sword of the warrior. The sword, in many ways, can be summed up as intent, or more like a directness of focus, where the things that distract the mind or lead one into patterns or little eddies, little whirlpools that keep you stagnant, that is a representation really of what the warrior is moving past. It's like just not getting caught up on the things that would keep you away from that clear awareness, that clear intelligence around whatever, around self, around a thing, whatever. And so that warrior intelligence today is kind of being in service. It's calling you to be in service in that way. Those faculties, if you're really feeling that energy, if you're really kind of feeling warriorish, go be in service to someone around that. Maybe you can help someone, right? Activating questions is another good one there. Questions that activate things in oneself, in others. This whole guiding power of the day, to me, feels very discovery based and feels very like go uncover the secrets is kind of what it feels like. There's that electric tone energy, which is really, electrifying. It's like it's alive. It's really like the electric tone is not sleeping. That's for sure. It's very aware. It's the live wire. And so, that mixed with that warrior energy is a pretty appropriate go get 'em kind of energy of inquiry and intelligence. That fearlessness, that ability to go into those unknown realms. The ability to confront and not back down in a good way. And fearlessness, again, is something that, I usually call heartfulness. Because, looking at the same energy in different aspects, to represent fear as the aspect of it, if there really is no fear, then the other aspect of that is having a full heart. I find fearlessness is coupled with having heartfulness. That when you're brimming with that heart space, there is obviously no fear. And so I personally call that central energy heartfulness. So, and you know what? This actually brings up another little thing for the warrior, and it's like the quest of discovering and claiming your heart space for you. If there's any way we can best be in service to one another outside of the tasks that we're doing, is to bring love, is to bring a safe space for others to find that love, is to communicate to others and through your heart to others. This world benefits, people benefit from how we share that love, how we embody that love. That's the work that we're doing here on this planet Earth. And the Earth is a direct reflection of the love we embody, because that emotional availability, that heart availability, as we connect with it more, those separation agreements dissolve and we can feel everything that much clearer. When we have empathic or emotional awareness, emotional communication, we begin to tap into all of the things of nature. The heart is a very balanced frequency, so it can really easily sense when something's out of balance. And so your heart will be your guide, but your warrior will be the attitude to be able to go and deal with something. Hey, let's stop those oil lines. No, we're going to take this down now. I don't care if there's police here. We're going to take the whole thing down. Like, let's just take it down. Like, we as people, we really got to start finding ways that if we want to protect this world, from like obliteration, from destruction. That we have to look at that warrior inside and start creating new ways of doing things. And if we really want to see actual global healing, like those amazing, water projects that I've seen around the world that have like cleaned up whole lakes. I saw a video the other day about this Japanese man who discovered a technology which allowed the removal of pollutants from water bodies. And so, these are the kind of things that I am beyond happy to see. Because I feel we're going to see a healed earth in our lifetime. I'm feeling that really deeply. All my senses tell me that this is the age. These are the tools. The more we get in connection with the collective consciousness, telepathic framework, like the noospheric framework, like that these systems and other systems grant us, that tapping in, the more we're all collectively receiving the data on how to do the things, how the magical work can be done, how the really cool technology can come out, how to heal ourselves, ancestral wounds, how to bring this earth to the 0 point, where we have zeroed out our karmic impact, so to speak, on everything. And we're like, wow, we're now fully symbiotically engaged with the planet in a completely and holistically harmonic way. So that's what comes through for the warrior. Now let's go to the electric wind here. Okay, challenging power of the day. Activating breath, the activating breath. Well, the first things that come up for me here are like music, sound energy, and simply breathwork energy. And communication is an obvious one as well. This is one of those energies that, like for me, the activating breath, because there was, breath meditations we did, and we would call it the activating breath, like activating breath. Let's activate some breath. And so that always seems to bring me to a place of like, maybe just, drop into yourself and take some breaths. Share some breaths with your body. Or just take a moment and discover where your body's at. Maybe there's emotions or things hiding under the surface that your breath can help bring awareness to as your body becomes aligned with that natural breath energy. And so I find that's a really good one, always to, go back into the simple breath. The air is also kind of a very mental symbol, as you can see in tarot cards or whatnot. And I see why, because of the thoughtness. And so my recommendation is stilling that movement. Recognizing if it's a gusto, a great gust, a tornado up there, tornado of thoughts, and, sharing some breath with yourself so that it begins to calm, so that you find your center, activating that breath, turning on that breath. In other ways, I find, it may be challenging to get to what we want to do today around, say, music, or around, say, our sound-oriented projects or things. But it's a good day to be activating those. It's a good day to be, bringing that service energy into what we can be doing if we have a cultivation that has to do with, speaking, sound, these kind of things, moving that breath energy as a concept. Music inherently isn't breath oriented unless you're singing or using wind instruments, or maybe a didgeridoo. But the sound level energy, the sound quality, because breath emitting vocal then becoming sound and music, and that kind of creative energy, that creative expression energy, is really defined as well by the wind. Now, wind can be sharp or breezy, it can be many different qualities. The wind can sometimes be a torrent and like lack emotion. So the other part about it is like, there can be some tough communication that comes in through wind days. There can be some tough attitudes, some very blustery energies that come through. So take space, know what your needs are, and recognize how they influence you, and use that free will and that make those choices. Tap into that wisdom on if you are running into a situation of this blustery nature. Know that you're supported. Tap into yourself. Tap into those interdimensional networks for guidance. Spirit guides and other beings of every nature are here to assist us in a positive way. Especially just ourselves, the beings that we are truly when we're unburdened by conflicting thoughts and desires. Yeah, communication's a good one. Today might be a good day to be in service via communication. To arrange and talk to people and, organize a service. Maybe it's a day for getting a new job and you're going to be, talking a bunch about that. Interviews, that kind of thing. It's so vast. But yeah, that leaves me there with the wind today. And now we're going to move on to the spectral moon. This one I really like, mainly because of how the moon energy already really stands for purification. And so the spectral tone I find really merges with that primary purifying intent. How? Because the spectral tone is all about release and liberation. It's all about letting go. And the energy of purification is like I release in order to purify. That's very simple. It's like in purification, you kind of do that anyway, right? You're just letting it go. You're letting those things drop. Oh, I'm just going to let that go. It's so easy. The moon is also the still water. It's the easy water. It's non-torrential. And so it's already delicate. It's already just easy. And the spectral tone is, it doesn't necessarily have a quality of easy or not easy, but it does have the quality of breaking down those barriers. It has the quality of, like a big brick of salt or sugar or something that has water on it, and then it just dissolving. It just kind of stops existing in that solid form. And in that way too, and another energy comes in, as you dissolve, as you liberate, as you surrender. That's another good one for this, is just to surrender, to throw up your arms and surrender. You don't need your weapons. Put down your weapons. Surrender, there's no need for violent mind. There's no need to be on guard. This is an invitation to open ourselves, and as we do open ourselves in this way, in this surrender, we naturally tag into the flow, kind of like we were talking about before. And so I find the spectral moon really directly tags into the human energy. We were talking about flow earlier. And so that flow state, I feel, is really exemplified by the moon. And it's kind of saying that, okay, well, in the electric human energy today, it's by releasing, we're going to come into that flow. And so it's the spectral moon is our teacher for how we're going to flow, how we can sustain that flow, and what it's going to look like. Yeah, surrendering into that flow state. And that inherently will allow us to purify, because the things that are not essentially purified in our body will be those sharp or chunky points that are holding us back from just really cruising on flow mode. They're going to keep showing up for us. And so we have an opportunity here to let them go. Or at least start the process, because some processes can be, long. And so this is another good one too, where the human is concerned, because the human is all about influences. And so, the human sometimes brings up things like alcoholism, things like addiction, tobacco use, these kind of things, patterns that don't serve. And so the human and the moon are a real hallmark for each other. They're like, hey, the moon is the process of wishing to let go, release, liberate, and purify. And the human is the energy that brings to light that there are, in fact, influences in the first place. So I feel they really go hand in hand. So yeah, today's a good day to, just drop some things that don't serve you. Take the time to really discover what they are, and another way to really work with that is breath. Just get into that breath energy. The moon breath. Find your subtle stuff. Find your still water. Allow the wind to just breeze over that lake. That's like your mind. Your body, all your energy conduits can be open too. Your body is relaxed and not in a state of resistance. And so therefore that energy can move freely within you, and it'll bring up anything. That resistance that you may feel there can be a signifier of something that needs to be let go. That could be a toxin in your body. The body and the mind react very interestingly around toxins, around parasites and things in the body. And if we learn their language, we can really listen to that. Help work that out. Help find out what's going on with us if we do have things going on with us. Well, I think that sums up the oracle section of today's episode of 1320 Time Wave. Time Stream. I think I did that twice today, calling it Time Wave. Yeah, Time Stream. Wow, how about that? 1320 Time Stream.